In lesson 5.1, we're doing operations with polynomials. So there are a few properties that you need to know. Before we get into the properties, you need to know some vocab. So right here, m is the exponent, a is the base. So a base is something that has an exponent above it. So m is the exponent, a is the base. Together they make a power. So a to the m is a power. So when you multiply two things that have the same base, all you do is add the exponents. So when you're multiplying and they have the same base, you add the exponents. When you are dividing and they have the same base, you subtract the exponents. Okay, now over here, this n is immediately outside the parentheses. They do not have the same base. M has a base of a, n has a base of a to the m. So for this case, we multiply the exponents. When you have a product on the inside of the parentheses, you need to make sure that the exponent hits both of them. So the m hits the a, and it also hits the b. Same thing if you have a quotient. So if you have a quotient, you need to make sure that the exponent hits both the numerator and the denominator. So a to the n over b to the n. And since you're not allowed to divide by 0, we put that little stipulation there. Okay, so over here, you have to make sure the exponent hits the top and it also hits the bottom. Your final answer should never have negative exponents on it. So a negative exponent, if it's on top, it can move to the bottom and become positive. So a negative exponent can move from top to bottom and become positive. If it's already on the bottom, it can move to the top and become positive. And then a rule you should remember is that pretty much anything to the 0 power is 1. The only exception is 0 to the 0 is undefined. Anything else to the 0 power is 1. Okay, so again, with negative exponents, if they are in the numerator, they can go to the denominator and become positive. If they are in the denominator, they can move to the numerator and become positive. And if you move it to the bottom, there's a 1 left on top. Alright, so now we're going to actually apply these properties. So for number 1, we have 2 powers. They have the same base, so we're going to add the exponents. 7 plus 8 is 15, so the answer is m to the 15th. For number 3, we multiply. So notice they don't both have an a as a base. Only the 4 has an a as a base, so we multiply. We get a to the 20th. For number 5, so there's 2 things you can do. You can simplify the inside of the parentheses and then square it, or you could square it and then simplify. I'm going to stick with order of operations and simplify first. So the top has 2 x's, the bottom has 1. So if we get rid of 1 on top and 1 on the bottom, there's 1 left on top. The bottom has 2 more y's than the top does. So the top has 1, the bottom has 3. So there's 2 more on the bottom. And then this is squared. That becomes x squared over y to the 4th. Okay, on number 7, let's simplify first. So these a's can move to the top. And when they combine with the two a's that are already there, that makes 5a's. There's b to the first on top, b to the second on the bottom. So the bottom has an extra b. And a shortcut, whenever the exponent is -1, a shortcut is that all that means is flip it upside down. So whenever the exponent is -1, you can just take the reciprocal of what you already have. Alright, number 9 looks a little complicated, but remember, anything to the 0 power, except for 0 to the 0, is 1. Okay, so on number 11, we have 2 to the 3rd, 2 squared, so there's an extra 2 on top. They both have c to the 4th, so those cancel out. They both have t squared, so answer is just 2. For 13, we're going to square this first, so it's 3 m to the 4th n to the -2. -5 times -5 is 25. M gets squared and n also is squared. 3 times 25 makes 75. Add the exponent for m. Add the exponent for n. So -2 plus +2 is 0. And we know that n to the 0 is just 1. So we have that times 1, which is just itself. Alright, for 15 you are subtracting, so you're just going to distribute the negative. So this one stays the same. And now we're going to distribute the negative. -4x squared -x plus 3 makes 2x squared minus 4x plus 5. And then for 17, that's similar to FOIL, but FOIL is when it's a binomial and another binomial. We have a binomial and a trinomial. So we need to make sure that 2n squared multiplies to all of those, and -3 also multiplies to all of them. So first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to distribute 2n squared to what I circled. So I'm going to do that, and that. Right, so my first term is 2n to the 4th plus 10n to the 3rd minus 2n squared. And now I'm going to distribute the -3 to all of these. So -3n squared. And I'm going to write that here so it's easier for me to combine like terms. Minus 15n plus 3. And so now I'm going to add these two rows together. 2n to the 4th plus 10n cubed minus 5n squared minus 15n plus 3. For the last one, recall that the area of a box or a rectangular prism is capital B times H. Capital B is the area of the base. So we have the area of the base, and we want the volume. We also have the height, so we just take the base area and multiply it by the height. Alright, so this was in square units, this was in units, so if we multiply those we should have cubic units. And one correction, this should actually be volume, not area. So change that to capital V. Okay, so now you guys can try the even problems on your own. Here are the even answers. And now would be a good time to pause the video so you can continue to read those.